everybody, Palm Springs Cindy. I am coming to you live because it's Saturday morning. I'm enjoying my iced coffee, and I ask for you to go get something, a refreshment, to join me this morning for iced coffee and a little chit chat. When I go live, I have people say, "Oh, I didn't know you were going live." And I never know if I'm going to go live or not. So here I am. I'm alive. I don't want to have to edit this. I want it to just go straight up. Hi, hello, Sophia. Sophia, I think that was it. I can't really respond, thank you, AC, to the people that are writing in because, Diana, I can't really see that far. But I'm trying to sit in a different location. I'm facing my patio, so the natural light is on me, but you can see back here my kitchen. You can see right here I did dishes, and I have them drying on a little drying towel thing. And I have leftover stuff from my party, my luncheon the other day. As if you watched my last video, it was my turn to host bridge. And what? So when you host bridge, you also have lunch for the ladies and cocktails or whatever. Hold on, my dishwasher is going crazy. I tried to stop it because it was noisy. Hold on, you guys. Okay. Start. It kept going dee. So we'll see what happens. So I had the luncheon, and the ladies, I said our theme, come over here. Our theme is spring. I said come here, baby girl. I wanted our spring to be kawaii, like tropical, but couldn't find anything tropical at the dollar stores. I thought maybe I could find those little plastic leis, and who knows, like napkins with palm trees or something on them. Like let's say you were going to have a birthday party. You want this? You were going to have a birthday party, and for your child, and they would have those little goodies. I wanted umbrellas, those little tiny umbrellas to put in our drinks. Okay, no such luck. So we did a spring, which was lovely. So I'll show you, because I haven't really put this up. I did use my Fiesta ware. So I tried to, I had like a pink, a yellow, a turquoise, whatever other color. I had probably a couple, a different kind of a blue, I think. And so I used those, and that was spring-ish. And I'll show you before I hang up. I'll go over there and show you because my stuff's still sitting out. I have to get on a ladder to put my Fiesta ware up. So I want to be careful when I do that. Okay. Like I said, I see my plastic surgeon again Monday, I think is the 20th. So I'll be able to ask him, I'm starting, the swelling is going down a little bit every day. I need to ask him about my laser. That'll make a big difference. At the end of, well, no, I can't do it because this is live. Okay, that's okay. The other day I went to, it was a girlfriend of mine's birthday. So a couple of us got together and we went to this place called Mitch's here on El Paseo. So those ladies who are familiar with this area, you'll know Mitch's. Well, Mitch's has a ladies' fashion show every Thursday. So it was Thursday. We were there. I have pictures. I have video. This is what I love about the fashion show. I love it that the gals that are the models, there are some young models, like I'll say in their 20s, but most of them are like in their late 60s, 70s, maybe not 70s, but they're mature women who look, who look good. They're very slender, so they wear the fashions well. But I just love it that they don't, that they are inclusive of mature women. Well, because frankly, that's the audience. Well, anyway, we were at Mitch's having a delicious lunch. I ordered chicken tacos. They were the special. It was like a special or something. And then the gal whose birthday it was, Alex. She's got the one with the blonde hair that I'll show you in the pictures another time. She had some kind of sushi. There were like 6 little blobs of sushi, and I just don't do sushi. It's not appealing to me. Raw fish is not appealing. And I'm not a tuna lover, so, whatever. And then Franny ordered a beautiful Chinese chicken salad, I think. Well, anyway, and another thing, for those of you who live in the area, the Thursday fashion show at Mitch's, you get, it's called half off or something. You can buy a bottle of wine, which we did, and then you get the second bottle of wine either free or half off something. So they make it a good deal. Plus the hi Carolyn, hi Nan, well, anyway. So plus the ladies that model, the people, the little stores, the boutiques that they're modeling and sharing the clothes from also have kind of like a little booth area in the restaurant lobby. So it's fun, like they'll say, if you like, if you like this top, if you like this belt, you can go out to the front lobby and they have a table of them, whatever. And I thought this was a great idea. Then the models hand you the business card of whose store they're modeling from. But one company handed us this with a little bracelet with their logo on it right here, instead of a business card, which I thought was really a different, cute idea. So I'm still wearing it. I forgot about it. So I'm advertising it on YouTube. Let's see if I can read the name of the store. It's Uno, UNO. I think it's a jewelry line. Uno Day 50, something like that. Anyway, I just changed it, and it's a lovely afternoon. And then, I have to tell you what happened. We were sitting outside. There's indoor seating, there's outdoor seating. The outdoor seating, they have a section of booths outside, which we were sitting in a booth, and then they have all kinds of like 4 top tables set up out on the patio with umbrellas because, nobody wants to sit in the sun. So the whole patio, it really is quite pretty, has all these different colored, big, beautiful patio umbrellas. Well, anyway, there was, for some reason, a gust of wind came from nowhere. Blew the umbrellas. You know how umbrellas, when they get wind under them, they kind of fly? Well, that's what happened. They kind of flew in the air. Some just tipped over. But, if an umbrella tips over on your table kind of tips, your drinks, can fall off. Well, luckily, where we happen to be, 2 umbrellas fell over us, and then somebody ran around and pulled them off of us because there was like a wall behind us. Anyway, nobody was hurt. Now there was some kind of condensation on a certain area of the roof. I'm going to say that when the wind blew, the water came down from the umbrella and got several people pretty wet. Well, don't you know, the owners were probably in a panic, but all was well. Everybody made a beeline. Most of the people just got up and left, probably finished their lunch quickly, got up and left. Oh, not us. We're just going to sit there until the bitter end. But we did finish our lunch, and then we still had our wine. So we took our wine and sat at the bar area where there was room, and finished our wine. But while we were sitting at the bar finishing our wine, they were kind of closing. Well, they were closing up evidently because the models had undressed and put their street clothes on and came to have. I guess maybe they get a free lunch or something. I don't know. But they came in, sat at the bar. Well, this one model, Sue. Hi, Sue. This one model. You know how I said they were older? We couldn't. I said to the gals I was with, "How old do you think she is?" I really couldn't tell. Was she young and looked a little more mature, or was she older and looked young? I didn't know. She had a great figure. I mean, her hips were like this big, but I was looking at her face. And she had beautiful hair. She had a ponytail about this long, and she had let herself go naturally gray. So that made it even more questionable. So anyway, the gal said, well, ask her how old she is. And I was like, I don't want to ask her how old she is. Well, and I didn't. But then we were in the bar. We finished up in the bar because of the umbrella situation. Well, that lady, the model, Sue, we had kind of started chit-chatting with her. So she came over and joined us. And so we were talking, she told us her life story and all this. Anyway, she was just adorable. So finally, I guess I felt comfortable enough. Could not drink because I was designated driver. And so I asked her, I said, I'm going to ask you this, and I hope you're not offended, but we all want to know, how old are you? So anyway, she said, well, how old do you think I am? I said, I think you could be in your late 40s, early 50s, and I meant it. And then the other gals said 50s, the 50s or 60s, we kind of hemmed and hawed. Well, anyway, she said she was 69. So anyway, we said, oh my gosh, you look great. And she had had some cosmetic work done. You would never have known it. And it was only like 4 years ago. So, well, anyway, she was darling. I have pictures, so I can't attach them to this because it's live, but I will attach them. And okay, let's see. I do have something serious to talk about, as noted in the title. Is our world getting crazier? Okay, I have received a few emails from some ladies that are just informative and fun. A few of you guys do email me, and I email back. Well, anyway, especially since I've had the cosmetic surgery, some ladies, want to know a little bit more about what it's like. All right, but getting back on subject, a couple ladies or more have emailed me about, whatever. But in the email, there's a reference to, and by the way, this crazy world, I fear for my grandchildren. I don't know what this world's coming to, and, how are we going to make it with these rising prices and all that stuff? So, I get it. I feel you. I wrote my thoughts down. And the words that people are using are that the world is getting so evil. I mean, that's a pretty, it's not like things are going down south. It's like going down. Okay, that it's an evil world. It's a dark world. And so, okay, here are my thoughts on that. I think, right now with these high prices, high groceries, high gasoline, and other things, like now this bank thing, this Silicon Valley bank thing. And trust me, I'm not going to get political. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on this whole idea of what in the heck's going on in our world today. Well, first of all, I think that there have always been crazy downward trends since the world began. I mean, let's face it. But for us right now, I think we have so much more information than we had 20 years ago. We used to read the newspaper in the front page kind of a thing, and that gave us our news. And it was usually, started with local and then state and then national news and sports or whatever. Well, now we have a plethora of information coming to us constantly, whether it's on social media, on the internet, Dr. Google, television. We hear all about everything that's going on globally. And of course, they never print good news, or hardly ever. So, we're always being blasted by negative, sad, harmful circumstances going on in the world today. Ukraine, the banking industry, the immigration situation, the pandemic. There seems to always be something. But one thing I keep in mind is, remember, we just get so much more information. Because, let me remind you, okay, baby, get down then. Let me remind you, not that you need reminding, but, our country has just in, not my lifetime, but let's say the last 100 years, we have gone through a serious depression in 1929. We've had some other depressions, like 2008. And we have had, I even thought about Prohibition. They voted Prohibition in because the men who were working were coming home and were not coming home, and they were getting drunk at their local pubs, and then their families had no money, and then everybody was living in such poverty, and then the women's suffrage movement came along, and part of that was these men need to be home taking care of their families, raising their families, and so on. Okay, so, when you think of our history, we had Prohibition to keep people from drinking so much. We've had I thought about that, the Dust Bowl, how horrible that was for a whole geographic area of our country that had to pick up and move, ruin their crops, ruin their lives, made everything go wonky for the rest of the country. We've had disease, we've had polio, we've had smallpox, other, other harsh diseases. I can't think of the names of them right now. And, as far as healthcare has always been kind of, not everybody has had access to decent healthcare. It's kind of like the nearest family doctor to where you lived. And, and so, okay, so yes, it does seem like our world is going crazy. But I think that there have always been craziness going on. It's just that we seem to hear it and discuss it more often because we have more access to what's going on in the world. And I don't think it's anything new. I think, the stakes are higher in the sense of nuclear warfare and the fact that the world overall is getting smaller because we know everybody's business, those balloon things that were in the air or whatever. And this whole thing about TikTok now being banned from certain countries. And so I'm looking down here at my notes. And so, there have always been high prices, low prices, whatever. I tend to think once prices go high, they never go low. That's what bothers me. It also bothers me, and this really bothers me, and I just heard it again on the news, and I wonder if anything will be done, that just before the Silicon Valley Bank went bust or whatever, they paid out huge bonuses to the trustees or the board members. And you know what? You get a financial reward for doing a horrible job. That doesn't make sense. And I don't like that. And I did hear that Biden was going to address that. Well, what if they don't do anything? They don't say give the money back. Maybe, well, they don't, I guess, in my memory. Okay, so, and the other thing that I want to bring up that's totally different in our world right now, and you can say what you want, but I get to have my opinion, is this whole gender identity situation. I think it is crazy. I think it is insane. I think, there are men and there are women. Now, a sidetrack to that, I do believe that, that there are, I'm sure there's a certain percentage of people that have gender confusion, or there could be a hormone issue. I don't understand it that much, but I think probably some of this, I'm a woman born in a man's body and vice versa. I'm sure there's probably some of that's very legitimate. And like I said, I don't understand it, but to have to change our pronouns on legal papers, you go to the doctor, if you haven't been recently, I have, and they're like, what do you identify as? Man, woman, question mark, whatever. That is just ridiculous. I know that in schools now, you are not allowed to say boys or girls. Like you can't say boys line up, girls line up. You have to use like, okay, Chargers, let's line up. Okay, team, let's line, okay, class, let's line up. You cannot refer to pronouns. And you cannot let parents even know if you had a child in your classroom and that child says to you, like, for example, this is not it, but you'll get it. This used to happen to me all the time as a teacher. I would have kids turn in their papers, and it didn't matter what grade level. Well, it happened up to probably sixth grade. And they would turn in their paperwork, and I'd be looking at it, checking it over, at home or whatever. And there would be like let's say the word Jan in the corner, and then the date, page 1 through 5. Well, then I think, Jan? I don't have a Jan. I don't have a Jan in my room. Who in the world is Jan? So then I'd go back to class the next day, I'd hand out the papers, and I'd say, Jan? Do we have a Jan? And a little girl would raise her hand, and she goes, oh, that's me. And I said, when did your name turn to Jan? And she said, oh, I changed my name. I just like the name Jan. Okay, that was innocent and it was silly, but it was like, okay, come on, you don't get to change your name. I don't have a Jan on my roll. You're really, Susie or whatever. So, but to say, oh yeah, and for the Imagine if you were in elementary school and you had to use the restroom. It's hard enough to use the restroom as a kid in your elementary school. Half of them don't have doors on them. Half of them have no toilet paper. Okay, don't get me started. Imagine if you were a little third grader going and needed to use the restroom and there's a boy in there, a sixth grade boy in there. I just think that's terrible. So, and I don't like the idea. I should just say this. Certain issues should be taught by the families. Parents are in charge of their children, not the state, not the school district. And I fear that parents will not stand up to this. I think parents need to be going to those school board meetings. They need to be having a fit attack about what is being taught in the classrooms. To get to know that curriculum, get to know what in the world is being taught about, sexual issues and sexual lifestyles and whatever. Whatever is taught, whatever my or your opinion is, what my statement is, that belongs at home. Those issues belong for parents to be teaching, not the school district, not the teacher standing in front of the room or whatever. Those are issues that need to be taught by parents. Those are family decisions. That is for a family to teach and to explain to their children when the time is right, according to the parents. Okay, I'm off my soapbox, but when people say that, the world's turning crazy, the economy, the warfare, the nuclear high prices, all of that stuff. But we've never had this gender issue, and that very much concerns me. And I think the public needs to really stand up and say, this is ridiculous. I have noticed, but not very much, on television that a few commentators or a few people are saying things like, are addressing this issue and saying, this is craziness. A man, a woman, those are the genders. And whatever. I've said what I needed to say. Okay, before I go, I did want to share with you some of my little, I did buy some flowers for the table, and I'm going to walk you over here. Look, my kitchen looks messy, but it's really not. I used my really pretty, these are my Fiesta ware dishes, and my little hoochies, and my little rabbits. So it turned out cute. And then I had these. I used my pretty little glasses that are pastels. And this, I have a little series of these that you can't see the color. Let's see. And some other plates this color. Okay. That's it for Cindy. That's it for me, folks. If you have not already, please subscribe. You guys, I get so many views. I'm thrilled. I think it's awesome. But I have more viewers than I do subscribers. So please, if you have not already, please subscribe. It means a lot to me and to the YouTube community. I am off to visit and spend the day with my daughter, and I can't wait. So goodbye. Mwah. I love you, and until our next conversation. Bye. Come on.